Greetings, dear ones. It is Friday, the 7th of June. It's very difficult to believe that it is already. And I want to invite you to just take a few minutes and just feel into this day, feel into where you are. Everybody is so crazy busy all over the place. And this is an opportunity to just breathe for a few minutes and to allow yourself to shift into a more, let's say, creative or a more open space for you to be able to. It's a bit of an echo there, just not sure whether you all are hearing it. So, um, and just want to give the opportunity to open some space to you, for you, within you, and moreover, allowing that space, let's call it, to generate out from you, those around you, the situations around you, the the situations that may be more at a distance from you, but that are still impinging upon you. So I think what jumped out at me for today's subject matter, today's theme, is the fact that we are in Pride Month and it is very visible in many ways in many cities and towns. And in others, the ability to express or be in public or celebrate what is essentially one's way of being. Bottom line, it's a question of being free to be who you are, whether that has to do with gender, whether that has to do with race, whether it has to do with religion or whatever spirituality you practice, whether it has to do with your practices. I know that I walk my labyrinth every day practically. And I have people here in my neighborhood, my neighbors, who believe that I am a witch. And although I am, um, not in the way that they perhaps are fearful of. Again, except for, as usual, fear is based in not knowing, um, not understanding, not having an awareness of the other and their perspective. I'm was actually had the privilege of walking in the Pride Parade here in our area. It was sponsored primarily by the Haddon Township um, Pride Awareness Group, advocacy group, and all the different towns had the opportunity to represent, personal businesses had the opportunity to represent, individuals had the opportunity to present and represent. And there were just such beautiful people, both viewing the parade on the sidelines and those in the parade. And, I was very struck by the fact that um, two things. Number one, many of you saw my birthday posts where I had gone to a labyrinth event at the local Universalist Unitarian Church. And what I will post about, but didn't at the time, was that as I came out after this beautiful, loving, sacred, very um, inviting community event, there was a hate-filled, horrible, ranting booklet on my car window, um, mirror, actually. And, it hurt so badly that in this beautiful space within the woods here in our area, that this level of um, beatitude and just the level of anger and intolerance that was present in that pamphlet. And I prayed and worked with it energetically, not to change anything, but to bring in what um, for me is truth, that love is love, and that we can have an incredible unity within diversity of all types, all forms, gender, race, religion, creed, beliefs, culture, etc. And um, that without that consideration, thoughtfulness, um, care, respect, then we really aren't going to make it, because those same attitudes are directed towards the earth as well. The disrespect, the intolerance, the devaluing. So, I have a backyard, and when I moved in, there was a patch over in the corner of a very interesting weed, let's call it. And by weed, that means simply any plant that you do not care for in your yard. And it had this overpowering, sickening sweetness when it was in the height of its season. So much so that it actually takes away your breath. It strangles you. And little by little, this thing has been creeping out in my yard, and it works its way underneath the grass. So it's a network of weeds. It's a vine of some sort. And, when I go out there, I have special tools that I've created to just break up that network and hopefully remove it from my yard, because it's so invasive and pervasive and so very much under the surface that it's difficult for any sort of application, natural application, to be able to get rid of it. And that is a metaphor for what's going on in our country and in the world for that matter. Little by little, this seeping vine of intolerance and hatred and, um, uh, you know, only this is right, only that is the way to live, only that is how you should look. Um, and it's going on all around the world. There is, and it's nothing new, absolutely nothing new. But what will only, let me put it this way, it has grown, it's seeped into, gotten under and in and within so many different aspects of our society that it seems overwhelming. Much like out in my yard, it's like, where do I start? This is, there's patches now all over the place, and it seemingly is going to take over my yard or win. And that's exactly what's going on in the world. So it is one of the underlying themes to this week's episode is the continuation of standing up and being a leader. Um, One of the other things that I came across this morning on Facebook was a friend who is a service person, and she was working, and just because she loves the colors, she happens to oftentimes wear rainbow colored clothing. And she listed some of the things that were being said to her while she's working by patrons. And it was so vicious, so mean, so hurtful, so ugly. And yet she has to continue working and has to continue bringing these people their food and drinks. And I am very sensitive to what any wait person is going through, any service person is going through. So I definitely probably would have said something about their rudeness and um, thoughtlessness and inconsideration, despite the subject matter. But um, this is not what's really surprising is how people stay silent. And that's what's going to allow the hate to win, is by staying silent. Yes, we can donate. Yes, we can do things. Yes, we can participate in celebrations for the month of Pride. But, in that moment, would you have said something to those people? Would you have said, brought them to the awareness, not in a confrontational way, but simply, this is another human being. They are serving you your food and drinks. Um, have a little bit of consideration or kindness or whatever you might have said. But it really is a time of standing up and standing out in our truth, not just because of the attacks on gender, but in all ways. Democracy dies in darkness. That's one of I think it's the tagline to the Washington Post. But it is actually democracy dies in silence. And we've seen this again throughout history. People being persecuted, whether it was for religious or gender reasons, and certainly in World War II, there was all of the above. Um, any that did not fit in with a certain framework of acceptability. So it is our silence that allows for the hate to continue. And it's very difficult. Um, I'm a big fan of the art form of drag, and there's a wonderful show on HBO called We're Here. And this is, I think, their third or fourth season. And this particular season, they are in several different states that have outlawed pride events and have been so forceful in their push against gender equality, against LGBTQ community plus community, and it has made businesses afraid to put up a sign supporting or in any way let their alliance or support of the LGBTQ plus community for fear of retaliation. And in those particular states, one of them is Oklahoma. The other I think they were in was Tennessee, and there were overt attacks upon businesses. And that's really, really difficult when your livelihood depends on it. However, our lives in general depend upon this right now more than ever. This is a period of evolution. We are going through the largest evolution of our species in the shortest period of time. So, yes, things are intense. Things are triple intense, quadruple intense. And yet, it is a point in time when we can go forward and have the world that we wish to. And that's what we're going to do in a minute, is to really sit in that creation energy. And um, in myth, in ancient cultures, in indigenous cultures, particularly in this instance of gender, that was not in any way um, attacked or viewed as something wrong or detrimental. On the contrary, oftentimes people of they call them in many cultures, indigenous cultures, two-spirited people, or those that actually in many different tribal Native American tribes, there were actually five genders. So we're not far off from what has been and what has always been. And this is one of the few times in history where it's been persecuted and attacked and attempts to suppress and control. But those have been shorter periods in our history than those years and epochs and cultures where it was simply part of the way of life. And if you care to explore a bit, there are myths from almost every culture that we have records of, and really feel into that's what I'm going to invite you to do for our practice right now, is to really feel into all those many, many centuries, many millennia where this was part and parcel of the culture, part and parcel of spirituality, part and parcel of teaching and um, examples of who we are and what we can be. And that to me is bottom line, what we are all here and hopefully fighting for is the freedom to be who you are. Certainly that comes through in the work that I do with people on an individual basis. Ultimately, everything that we are working so hard for and towards is freedom. Freedom within self, freedom within your family, freedom within your life and how you choose to live that, what work you choose to do, what you choose to speak about. And, that's spiritually what the goal is of so many different practices, so many different teachings, psychology, etc. To be free, to be who you are. Free to be me, as the saying goes. And right now, there are multiple groups, including the LGBTQ community plus LGBTQ plus community, as well as those in different art forms, be it drag or others, that are kind of on the front lines of where we are going as a humanity, and staying visible, staying outspoken, and making those choices to not look away when someone is denigrating or devaluing or disrespecting another. So I think it's very interesting that upcoming next week is the Aniwa, ANIWA, gathering of over 50 different elders from around, particularly Latin America, but around the world, and um, how those teachings, those ancient teachings, are of such a wide perspective, a wide cosmology within the universe that is inclusive of not only every type of human, but other types of beings and creatures and um, ways of existence. So the major theme of the Aniwa gathering this year is sacred water, and water is going to play a very, very large part as one of the energetics again this week, because of water's ability to flow over, under, around, even in some cases through obstacles that do not stay fixed or rigid after a certain period of time, whether it's, water running over it, constantly wearing it away, or in other instances when the power of water, a massive amount of water comes in and it pushes huge mountains even by the wayside. So we are inviting the element of water in. And if you are using Young Living essential oils, there are several that have come out today for us to help us. Um, One, of course, is harmony, that with harmony, even in music, you have different um, notes or chords being sung or played, and they can synchronize, they can syncopate in order to make a most beautiful sound. So we have the oil of harmony, we have the oil of forgiveness. Um, the statement, two different phrases have been running around this week, and one is until you've walked a mile in my shoes or in their shoes, you really don't know. And then the other is, you know, kind of forgive them for they know not what they do. And in this instance, I think this is across the board. People are not feeling, they're not feeling themselves, and so they're not feeling the other. And as a result, you can much more easily attack and um, say things, do things that you wouldn't normally if you were able to experience that love and compassion for yourself, and it just automatically goes towards others. So obviously, people who are in that position of hate or attack are obviously extremely afraid and angry, and it's really for deeper individual patterning, personal uh, reasons, and it's being vented through these avenues. But when you kind of pull back the camera and go, gee, that person is so angry, so hurt. I wonder what, and in such fear, excuse me, I wonder what would have caused that. Still doesn't excuse, but it is an understanding that we all have great fear and great anger right now. And these are the first and second chakra based issues that we are evolving. And everyone's doing that in their own way. However, part of that process is to be able to stand clear in who you are and what you believe and speak up and stand for. And not always easy, as I mentioned, with the businesses who have received aggression, verbal, otherwise, or their businesses have been boycotted. But so too can boycott work in another way for those companies and those businesses that are intolerant. If we pull our um, financial support to them from them, then again, that's another very loud way of speaking. So I invite you to see where you can speak in that way. Find out about the companies that you do business with. Find out about the products that you purchase. And again, this isn't about politics. This is about how humanity's soul is going to evolve, how this planet is going to go forward or backward. So, forgiveness is in that understanding. Um, Another oil that has come out this week is humility. And that humility is in, the awareness of the awesomeness of all that is here for us and humanity itself, and being able to hold on to the fact that although this is a free will universe, our free will, each of our votes as to what we want this planet to be actually does count. So whenever you stand up, speak out, you are in a way physically voting for what you want in the future. So without further ado, I would say to invite you to find your sits bones. And, sometimes that means a little bit of rocking back and forth, putting your feet firmly on the floor, and finding those bones right within your buttocks. It allows for your spine to be straight. It allows for you to connect in through your anchor point in your first chakra into this planet beneath you. Despite all of its rumblings and rolling and rocking, there is still very deep connection and belonging that are able to be accessed by letting your energy field reach down to the earth and allowing her to reach up to you. I would also invite you to just kind of roll your shoulders back and bring your shoulder blades slightly together, which again allows for more flow, more energy throughout the chakra system, throughout your energy field, and literally throughout your physical body. And as always, I invite people to say to themselves or out loud, if you feel to, if you can, I am asking and I am allowing my body. I am asking and I am allowing my energy field. I am asking and I am allowing my wider self. I am asking and I am allowing my emotional body. I am asking and I am allowing my guides, teachers, masters, all to join me here and now, assisting me in being in connection and sensating and feeling who I am, what I am, what I know deep inside, as well as what I desire in my life, in my world. And I'm also going to invoke the Universal Council of Spiritual Law, because this is a universal evolutionary process, an intergalactic and galactic evolutionary process. And so I ask that the Council of Supreme Universal Law oversee this practice, those within it, those that may listen later, but moreover, those actions and choices and aspects of humanity that we are evolving. For we here on earth are the game board, and you are a vital and very important, significant player upon that game board. And so we're going to invite in the element of water, sacred waters that have cleansed, sacred waters that have cooled, sacred waters that have fed. People, animals, plants, clouds itself, the atmosphere itself. Sacred water that has moved mountains. Sacred water that holds transparency for us. Being only on Facebook for a couple minutes this morning, but another prominent post that stood out was a friend who found a frog in their pond this morning. Frog representing not only cleansing, but also being able to live in two worlds, that of water and on land. So really simply allow yourself to feel the energetics moving around you, within you. They've been set up and worked on this morning, so you should feel yourself kind of slipping right into a container where there's really nothing to do for you. On the contrary, any efforting or intention or focus interferes with or can be an obstacle to you actually feeling and experiencing what is going on within you and the energetics, how they may be moving within you, how they may be moving around you, over you, through you, with you. The energy from the oils I mentioned, harmony, forgiveness, humility, not only in the sense of being humble to another's path, but moreover, that sense of awe that we feel. We're standing before the ocean, mountaintops, high altitudes, imposing presence. Or as we look out into the cosmos, the many stars and planets and constellations and configurations and so many formations. Variety, diversity is part of expansion, allows for expansion, fosters expansion, feeds expansion. Sameness creates stagnation, stagnation creates generally deathing. and control. As we are in a point of time when our own individual power, our own sense of freedom from control, that those patterns as a child were imprinted given the fact that we had no control. It's just a fact of childhood. So as each of us matures and transforms and transmutes those patterns, come to be free of that control, that sense of not having any control. So again, just letting yourself sink down and in to you, down and into the direction of within. One of the 7 directions that are always part of, included within the container of this form of energetic practice. The east is Brother Eagle, west was Brother Bear, the south is Sister Porcupine and Sister Otter, the north, Lady White Buffalo, the direction of above, our cosmic family and relatives and all the forms within our cosmos. The direction of below, the inner worlds and engineers and maintainers inside the earth for it to keep spinning. Great difficulty and great challenge right now, given the huge changes in the climate, and our interactions with the land and animals and critters on this land. Throwing off the balance, the cycles, the rhythms, allowing you to access the ancient within you, your ancestral lineage, where people of many genders and gender forms not only appeared, but oftentimes had great gifts or supernatural abilities. So allowing yourself to open and permit the free flowing energy of the ancient cultures, the places within your ancestral line, the time spaces within your ancestral line where those of multiple genders or gender choices, allowing that accepting and embracing of diversity can channel through you to what is occurring in our present time. It's not only in our country, it's actually showing up in many different countries right now. This intolerance, this attack and aggression on or upon one group, one way, one belief system. And now, even more deeply feeling into you, you might be experiencing that space-time in ancient cultures, as I said, through your ancestors. You're feeling the past, you're feeling that openness and embracing. And then allow yourself to feel, yes, some discomfort perhaps, some pain, some fear, some anger towards the intolerance, the unacceptance, the aggression, the attacks, the persecution towards those that may not fit within a particular framework mold. Again, be it through gender, religion, philosophy, way of life. And I invite you to drop a little bit deeper even so. That you can feel into the world in which you wish to live. Would there be this anger? Would there be this hate? Would there be this division and separation? How does it feel? Not how does it feel for you in a world where fear of attack or reprisal does not exist? Or the need to control and oppress does not exist? Or the fear of hunger or homelessness, losing your country does not exist? How does it feel to be so much freedom that you can choose your passion, your calling without worry, without worry for funding, without worry for being accepted in the educational path you choose? Feel into that world you wish to live in. Feel into that world you wish to leave for future generations. Not merely see it, maybe that's the initial avenue to get there, but feel what it is like every day to not have those harmful, detrimental, destructive the more you feel, truly feel into how it feels in this world, this future world of your choosing, the more deeply it is imprinted, anchored in the now. You may have go-to movies or pictures or stories, imaging, exemplifying the future that you'd like this world to be. Use them as a doorway. For the more you feel, not just think or intend, the more it will become reality. Another beautiful energetic aspect of water, its changeability. This world is changing, and you get to decide how it shall be. With deep creation practices and speaking out and standing up for who you are in all ways and for others. Those that have no voice, like aspects of nature, earth, animals, birds. Those of you who are energy sensitive can feel, I am so very aware of the movement and the huge energetics and how they are being developed and created even as we speak. And how much more effectively, how much more powerfully, how much more clearly, how much more intensely can that creation occur when you are actually channeling in your own very unique, very specific ways of creation, whether it's through the magical, whether it's through the elements, whether it's through universal mathematics. I invite you to join me um, at the end of the month to start, or at the end of the month, a class is starting where you can find out what your particular creation abilities are and learn how to use them more effectively to create in your life and in the world. So as I'm saying that for the integration and the um, physicalizing of all that's been put in the container today. And I will post this on YouTube, but I invite you to come back and just listen to that last half hour and feel into the energetics, feel into the future being anchored in through you in the way that you would like to see this world become. So I will, and I invite you to post some ways in which you see those changes taking place, whether it's on this video or, just on my feed. I would love to see how you know of communities or individuals truly putting in place here and now ways, means, avenues that this level of acceptance and freedom and um, evolved humanity is taking place. as always, I am in deep honor, gratitude, and love to you for being here on the planet at this time and being you. Be well. Bye.